He passed away but was sent to another world, discovering that he was the son of a duke in an empire. His father tasked him with managing his own land, and he decided to leverage his advanced industrial mechanical design skills from his previous life to build the city he envisioned. Reflecting on his ordinary beginnings, he resolved to use his knowledge to rise up and ultimately become an emperor of both magic and technology. This is the story of forging an industrial empire in a magical world. A voice urgently calls out to the doctor, saying that the patient is struggling to breathe and needs immediate help. In the operating room, the doctor urgently calls out to his assistant, demanding a ventilator as the patient struggles to breathe. On the operating table lies Jin Leshan, the main character. As he struggles to breathe, he thinks about his life as a mechanical engineer. He reflects on how overworking has brought him to this point and wonders if this could be the end. As he struggles to breathe, memories flash before Jin Leshan's eyes. He recalls becoming an orphan at a young age after losing his parents in a car crash. He remembers his graduation day and the 20 years he spent at a company he didn't like, earning barely enough to get by. A deep regret settles in as he thinks about being single his whole life, never even having the chance to hold a girl's hand. Jin hears the doctor calling his name, and a wave of disappointment washes over him as he realizes his life hasn't turned out the way he had hoped. The doctor calls his name again, more urgently, but all Jin can think about is how tired he is. As the doctor shouts for the assistant to help, Jin feels a pull towards sleep, wishing he could just drift away from it all. The scene shifts to the front of a large mansion. Its impressive architecture stands out, showcasing wealth and mystery. Inside the mansion, a man wakes up, blinking in the bright sunlight. He raises his hand to cover his eyes, trying to get used to the light. It's Jin. As his eyes adjust, he looks around the room and sees all the expensive things. He wonders how much it would cost to stay in a hospital room like this, feeling both amazed and confused. Just then, a strange window pops up in front of him, catching his attention. The screen welcomes him to the magical continent of Eldora. He wonders what's happening as he reaches out to touch the strange window, questioning its presence. A sharp pain in his head pulls him back, and he feels disoriented. As he tries to turn his head, he catches a glimpse of something nearby. Suddenly, he opens his eyes wide in shock, looking at his reflection. Confusion washes over him as he realizes he looks completely different and wonders why he has suddenly changed. A week has gone by, and Jin is in his new body, reading in a quiet room. Suddenly, he hears the door open. One of his servants walks in with a smile. "Your tea is ready for you," she says, holding out a steaming cup. Jin looks up, feeling grateful for this small gesture. He sets his book aside, smiles back at her, and thanks her warmly. As he looks at the cup, he reflects on how, after a week, he's starting to understand his new life a little better. He understands now that he has passed away in his old body and taken on the form of a man named Rain Edgar. Jin has discovered that he is the third son of Grand Duke Alfrea Edgar, and he has both a brother and a sister. He recalled the memories of his new body, remembering how, when he was smaller, everyone took great care of him. They always made sure he ate well, reminding him that he needed food to grow big. He fondly remembered his mother playing fun food games with him, filling their time with laughter. Some people even went out of their way to create special things just for him, like the new jacket he had received. Now, he reflects on a recent memory of being the smallest in the family, adored by everyone around him, feeling a sense of warmth and belonging. He smiles, enjoying those memories even though they aren't his own. But he wonders if this new life is a way to make up for the terrible life he had, where he felt no love from anyone. He then remembers that the continent he lives on is called Eldria, where many things rely on magic to function. The Caradorial Empire is the largest human empire, known for its mighty military force. There are also other races, like elves, who mostly keep to themselves, and dwarves, who are focused on creating great things. He recalls that his family is a noble one, ruling over a territory of about 300,000 square kilometers and having roughly 1 million subjects. He understands that as a noble, he has fine clothes and privileges, including a personal maid to serve him at all times. She prepares his tea for him, attending to his needs with care. As he goes to take a sip of his tea, he thinks that his life is a result of all the hard work he did in his past. Just then, His maid smiles and says that the lord of the house wishes to discuss something with him and asks him to please follow her now. The scene shifts to the lord of the house, who looks very busy sorting through papers and documents. He glances up as he hears his butler politely announce that the young master Rain has arrived. The lord nods and comments to let the young master in. The butler agrees and goes to escort Rain into the lord's room. He arrives and shows respect to the lord of the house by closing his eyes, bowing slightly, and stating that he has arrived as ordered. His father, Aldarian Edgar, the lord of the area, looks at him with a serious expression. He questions his son, asking if he knows why he has called for him today. But having just arrived in this world, he has no clue why his father would call for him. Looking confused, he comments that he doesn't know why he is here. His father then closes the documents he was reading and comments that Rain has reached the age where he must manage his own territory. He questions him if there are any towns or places he would like to manage, but Rain is confused and comments that he will inherit a territory. His father looks worried, rubbing his face and closing his eyes as he replies that is correct. His father then gets up and walks toward a giant map of the territory he oversees. He stops and tells his son that he will be taking over a territory far to the north. Rain looks at the map, trying to understand which area his father is referring to. His father then points to a region in the north and explains that while it's generally safe, the main issue is food production. There simply isn't enough food for the area. He then turns to his son with a serious expression and says that although the area is currently safe, he shouldn't assume it will stay that way. There are always factions battling in the background over land and resources. He looks at his father and nods, fully grasping the truth of his words. He reflects on the current state of the empire, recognizing how the royal family of the Caradorial Empire is slowly declining. With this decline comes a rise in political corruption, and he knows there are both open and hidden conflicts among countless lords vying for power. He rubs his chin, thinking about his reincarnation and the love and care he's received here, feelings he never had before. His expression becomes serious as he vows to never lose the people who have shown him such kindness. Seeing his son's expression, his father begins to worrying that the responsibility of overseeing a territory might be too much for him. He starts to say that there's no need to feel pressured, and that his brother and sister are there to help, but suddenly, Rain cuts him off. He asks his father if the food problem is resolved. Will that improve the safety of the territory? His father replies that the food problem can't be solved quickly, even with his enthusiasm to help. He advises Rain to take it step by step, believing his son isn't ready for this responsibility yet, as he still thinks like a child and assumes the problem can be fixed easily. Rain thinks seriously, believing his father will soon be surprised by what he's capable of. He plans to draw on the wisdom of centuries from the human industrial revolution, knowledge gained through his hard work in the other world. He clenches his fist, determination shining in his eyes as he looks at his father and confidently states that he will take care of the food problem. The next day, Rain was on his way to his new region in a horse-drawn carriage. As they traveled along the road, his maid smiled at him. He was deep in thought, reading over the material regarding the territory he was going to manage. According to Rain's understanding, Ashling City was the westernmost land in Grand Duke Aldarian's domain, bordering the enemy Sorin Grand Duke's land to the north. To the west lay the Elves' domain, while to the south spread the huge ocean. However, due to its strategic location at the crossroads of three countries, Ashling City was frequently engulfed in flames of battle. The constant wars had turned previously fertile territory into barren fields, and the population had plummeted, leaving many struggling to survive. He knew that to start an industrial revolution in Ashling City, he would need a large labor force. With the population declining and the land damaged by war, finding enough workers would be a major challenge. Rain realized that he needed to come up with ways to attract and support the people necessary for this change. What surprised him the most was that he had gained some kind of ability. As he rubbed his face in disbelief, he recalled the familiar window that had appeared, revealing his scanning ability. The system had given him a quest to use this new skill 10 times. With it, he could observe the stats of the people he scanned. Having already tested it on his family, he now had a rough idea of how the ability worked and an understanding of how people in this world acted. His expression turned somber as he realized the magnitude of the work ahead. He knew that upon arrival, the first thing he needed to do was recruit talented individuals to help him rebuild Ashling City. As they continued on their journey, the maid's face turned to worrying. She recalled her conversation with the lord of the area, who had insisted that she keep his son out of trouble while they were there. The lord hoped Rain wouldn't cause too much trouble during their time in Ashling City. She could only agree, feeling the weight of his expectations. Glancing at Rain, she silently hoped the young master would behave, fully aware of the responsibility placed on her shoulders after hearing the lord's orders. The scene shifts to Ashling City, where we are inside the city lord's mansion. Two men are discussing something, and one asks if the other has heard the news that the Grand Duke's youngest son will be arriving in the city today. He then questions whether it is the right time to act. He explains why it is a good time to act, his face turning to greed as he comments that he heard a rumor the Grand Duke Aldarian is very protective of his youngest son. He adds that his older brother and sister are also protective of him, hinting that kidnapping the youngest would earn them a fortune. But the hooded masked man remains calm and replies that they will do nothing until their master gives them orders. He emphasizes that they will wait for further instructions before taking any action. But the other man insists that they need to act quickly, arguing that the young master might discover his tax and financial fraud. He stresses that delaying could put their plans at risk. The masked man laughs, commenting that a young noble like the young master won't have any idea about tax and financial records. He adds that if the other is worried, he should just give the young master random accounts to keep him busy, and the young master will have to try to sort out what's going on. Then he stands up and states that they should both get ready to greet the young master, as he should be arriving soon. The other man agrees with the plan. While the masked man gets angry and curses the lord of the land, he thinks it's time for Aldarian to pay for his crimes. The scene turns to Rain and his maid as they go out into the unfamiliar region. He notices that the land is just as he expected, neglected, as a result of the declining population. Recognizing the hurdles ahead, he calls his maid and requests a map of the area. She hands him the map he asked, and he opens it to examine the details. He considers digging the waterway to the west and constructing a canal connecting it to the southern harbor. But his thoughts are interrupted by the sound of a small girl shouting at her father, telling him to stop gambling. He looks over to see a father and daughter arguing. The girl is on her knees, begging him to stop gambling, and the father is clearly furious. As she cries, the daughter screams that the money he took was for her mother's treatment, but the father doesn't care. He grows upset and demands that she hand over the money, vowing that he will win this time. The girl clings to the bag, refusing to let go since she needs it for her mother. The father, having run out of patience, threatens her, stating that if she does not give him the bag, he would take it from her. Before he can move, Rain, furious by what he sees, rushes in and thrusts the father back, sending him crashing. He looks at the father laying on the ground with a solemn expression, but then he feels a sharp pain in his fist. As his maid comes over to assist him, he realizes his hand has become red from the impact of his attack. He complains about his pain. She looks worried as she rubs his hand, suggesting that next time the young master wants to deal with situations like this, he should inform her so she can prepare protective gear for him. He replies that it was an impulsive act and he didn't have time to call her and ask for it. He then commands his maid to check if the girl is alright as he walks toward the father, commenting that he will have a word with that scum. The father gets up, rubbing his head from the attack. Holding his face in pain, he looks up as a shadow falls over him, his expression filled with anger. But he doesn't care, he's already furious about what he witnessed. He asks how a father could take his family's life savings to gamble and then try to hit his own daughter, questioning if he has lost his mind. The father notices Rain's clothing and becomes scared, realizing that it's not worn by commoners. Now afraid, he questions who Rain might be. Trembling in fear, he feels Rain's hand on his shoulder. Rain leans in, looking directly at the man with a killing intent, and states that it doesn't matter who he is. What's important is that if he finds out the father has gone to the casino again, he will come back and make him disappear. Suddenly, the man runs away, crying and screaming that he won't do it again. He shouts that he will never gamble again. He smiles, feeling satisfied that he has dealt with that scum. Turning to the daughter, he asks if she is okay, and thinks this is a good opportunity to check her stats using the new skill he acquired from the system. The maid smiles at the girl, reassuring her that it's safe to talk to him since he is her master. The girl then grabs her arm, looking sad as she thanks him for saving her from her father. Tears begin to flow as she thinks that without their help, her mother wouldn't have been able to get treatment, and she doesn't know what she would have done if her father had gotten the money. As she continued to speak, he used the skill on her and was shocked by what he saw. The system showed that her name was Lillian Aldert and that she was 17 years old. She had a leadership score of 45, strength of 25, loyalty of 50, magic of 25, and strategy of 55. Her special attribute was farming and harvesting. He looked on in surprise, realizing that her stats weren't exceptionally high, but he understood that this girl was a valuable figure in agriculture. He recognized that he must recruit her, as she would play a vital role in future farming efforts. He then smiled at her and said that since she was going into town to get treatment for her mother, she could follow them, as they were also heading there. However, she became shy and replied that she didn't want to bring dirt into his carriage. But he said he didn't mind, explaining that the carriage was just a few bits of wood put together for transport and that he didn't care about cleanliness. He then added that he had a question for her. As she looked confused, wondering how she could ride with someone like him and why he would have a question for her, she felt a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. His expression turned serious as he asked her if she knew how a casino could even exist in an area so severely affected by poverty. But she said she would share the story of how the land fell into its current state as they headed into town. She explained that last fall, the Grand Duke of their enemy country, Soren, attacked the town, leading to many soldiers' deaths. Then, this spring, a devastating flood destroyed much of the land and crops. Consequently, the lives of the citizens had become unbearable, and even finding a meal had turned into a struggle. The scene shifts to them as they arrive and begin to walk through the town, their faces darkened by the sight of many struggling people on the side. He thinks to himself that he needs to conduct a headcount soon to determine how much of a workforce he has. That way, he can place all these struggling individuals into jobs that pay, helping them secure a better life. He looks at the struggling people and realizes that he needs to go to the Ashling City Lord's estate immediately to see how much cash is available. He understands that this is essential for starting the development of the land to help these people. He then looks toward Lillian and asks her where the Lord's estate is. Just as she begins to give directions, a loud voice suddenly booms toward them. A man on horseback barrels down the street, shouting for everyone to get out of the way. His face is filled with anger as he screams again, calling everyone in the area peasants and demanding that they clear his path as he continues to ride down the middle of the road. But suddenly, the maid grabs him, noticing that the man on horseback is heading straight toward her young master. She screams for him to watch out and be careful. She pulls him into her arms just in time, shielding him as the man screams again for everyone to get out of the way. She looks back at the man on the horse, annoyed, thinking he's making her life harder. She considers that she might have to deal with him the next time they cross paths. But her anger fades as she feels the young master tapping her arm, trying to tell her to let go. She realizes he's struggling to breathe at that moment. She lets go and becomes very worried, questioning if the young master is hurt anywhere and if he feels any pain. Meanwhile, he holds onto her, trying to catch his breath. As he manages to catch his breath, he looks at her with gratitude and thanks her for saving him. He then turns back to the direction the man went and asks Lillian if she knows who that person is. Meanwhile, his maid becomes increasingly irritated just thinking about the man. She then goes on to explain who that man was, her face turning worried as she says he is the young master of the Edwin family. Fear creeps into her expression as she looks down, stating that all the casinos in Ashling City belong to their family. He smiles at her, trying to lift her spirits, and says they must be rich if they own all the casinos in the city. She hesitates to agree, still feeling the weight of the situation, but he just smiles, thinking that this is a great opportunity for him. He realizes he can use the funds from all the casinos to finance the development of the land. He chuckles to himself, feeling optimistic that this money problem might be solved soon. Now with a plan in mind, he looks confident as he tells Lillian to lead the way to the casino. However, she voices her fear for the young master, suggesting that if he goes there, he might be scammed out of all his money. He reassures her, his expression darkening as he states that the casino can't beat him. But as she watches the young master walk off, she can't help but worrying for him. She wonders how he can be so confident and questions just how powerful he really is, pondering his true identity. The scene shifts to a building that Lillian leads them to, believing it to be the casino. He walks up to the door and sees two men standing guard at the entrance, protecting it. He looks at the door and smiles, thinking about how this place won't exist once he gets his industrial production line up and running. The two men don't hesitate to open the door for him, recognizing his outfit, and all three of them make their way inside. He sees more commoners begging for money. One man insists that he can make his money back, while another looks completely defeated, having lost everything. Another person is completely absorbed in gambling, boasting about his big win as he counts his winnings. Meanwhile, a woman nearby looks frustrated as a man playing another game screams for the ball to land on red. As Rain watches them, he understands that he must get rid of these places. People will never work properly if such distractions remain. Just then, his maid whispers to him that the soldiers have surrounded the casino and asks if he wants them to take action now. He replies that they will wait for a big player to show up before turning this place upside down. With that, he walks forward, and she agrees to the plan. But it doesn't take long for one of the casino staff to approach him with a smiling face, asking Rain what he would like to play. Recognizing that the man is likely trying to scam him, Rain knows he needs to play along to draw out the big player. He comments to the staff member that he's not sure what to play and asks if there's anything easy to try. The staff member grins and says he has the perfect game for Rain, urging him to follow. They arrive at a table where the dealer asks if there are any more players who want to buy in. One person has already paid and is waiting for the game to start. As Rain looks down at the setup, he notes that he hasn't got any money out yet. The staff member quickly pulls out 2 coins, reassuring Rain not to worry. He insists that these coins are on the house, encouraging Rain to give it a shot, but he recognizes that this is where the scam begins. He grabs the coins and throws them on the table, betting on small to win the dice game. The staff member smiles at the dealer, signaling him to ensure that Rain loses, and the dealer smiles back, fully understanding the strategy. He then raises the cup and declares that the numbers are 6, 6, and 4, which equals a huge number. The staff member conceals his joy as he claims it was unlucky for Rain, claiming he almost won the game. Rain says that the game advised by the staff worker isn't as enjoyable or simple as he claims. He then turns back to his maid and indicates that he is hungry and intends to depart the area. However, a staff member rushes in front of him and instructs him to wait. The staff member's demeanor darkens as they reveal his true nature, emphasizing that he can only leave after repaying the money he was given. He extends his hand, waiting for the money. Rain looks down at the staff member's hand and questions when he ever owed this place any money. The staff member steps forward, mocking him and stating that he took 2 chips and must pay them back first. Rain remains calm, pointing out that the staff member had said the chips were on the house. In response, the staff member's greed surfaces as he smirks and declares that nothing is free in this place. He chuckles loudly, claiming that each chip is worth 100 gold coins. He adds that, after the service charge and interest, Rain now owes them 250 gold coins. He expresses greed and excitement, suggesting that if Rain did not bring enough money, he can leave his maid behind. But then a voice cries out, calling out a staff member and saying that he should cut the nonsense since they know he is a liar, which gets his attention. Lillian tells him not to believe him since each token is only worth 1 silver coin and the staff member is lying through his teeth. He then gets furious with her, questioning where she came from and how she managed to disrupt his grand plot to steal this guy's money, and orders the guards to come in and deal with this little troublemaker. But is struck hard by Rain, who has heard a lot of nonsense from this man and believes that this is the second time he has had to deal with scum today to protect Lillian. The staff member was sent flying into a dealer's table, scattering gambling chips everywhere. As he stares down at the staff member, his fury rises. He claims that Lillian was speaking to him and wonders how this man dared to interrupt their chat. Suddenly, a mob rushes in, grabbing the chips scattered on the ground and disputing over who they belong to. As the chaos unfolds, Rain realizes that these individuals may be too far gone to rescue. Just then, A man strides in, demanding to know who dares to create such a mess in the casino. Rain turns and sees it's the young master of the Edwin family, the same man he encountered on horseback earlier. A smile spreads across his face as he thinks to himself that the big player has finally arrived. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.